Gina DeLuca here. All right, today I'm going to be doing another flower pour using a straight pour recipe. So hopefully I'll be getting some cells, some cool rainbow action. Doing a rainbow today. So the colors that I'll be working with, all of these paints here in the small cups. It is a mixture of DecoArt Satin Enamel, DecoArt Americana Decor Satin Enamels in pure white, and whatever other color is in there. So it is half satin enamels, half whatever other color. That is the paint mixture. So I have Quinacridone Magenta by Liquitex Basics. The orange is Naphthol Crimson mixed with some Cadmium Yellow Medium Hue. This yellow here is just the Cadmium Yellow Medium Hue. I have Phthalo Green, Phthalo Blue, and Dioxazine Purple. So this cup here is just the Quinacridone Magenta. There is no satin enamel in that. I am hoping that this goes to the background, that these will become the cell makers, and we'll end up with a groovy tie-dye looking flower type thing. We'll see what happens. So the paints have been mixed. 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. So 1 part paint would be the half satin enamel, half regular paint. That's considered 1 part paint. So I mixed up bigger cups of this. So let's say I did a 1/2 ounce of satin enamel. I would do a 1/2 ounce of the Quinacridone Magenta. That gives me a full ounce. And then I'm going to do 2 ounces of Floetrol. That is the recipe. Hopefully that clears up some confusion. I know it gets a little confusing when I start throwing the recipes out. So that mixture is then thinned with either water or I use sometimes a 90% water, 10% Floetrol mixture. Add that to your paints until you get the consistency you're looking for, which is about a 2 on my consistency scale. It is making a mound, but it's disappearing quickly. And it's making a nice thin even stream off of my stick. If your stream isn't even, if it gets thin and then thick, your consistency is not consistent, and that can cause you some issues later. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you the exact paint brand, color, consistency, the recipe, of course, the technique, all of the things that I can't fit onto a card. This is the picture of the painting in that video. This box contains a tip for that particular technique, and here at the bottom you have the color palette that was used in that painting. And then these 2 boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors. Mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you will have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. So this little nifty contraption comes from the paintpourstore.com. If you want to grab yourself one of these, use the code GINA15 and you will get 15% off of your entire purchase. And I receive a commission at no additional cost to you. Same goes for the DecoArt paints. There's a link in the description box with a coupon code. Use that link, use the code. I receive a commission at no additional cost to you. It's an easy way to help support artists, spread the love, without spreading extra money. The first thing I'm going to do is put some paint in my cup. I'm going to do about 2 ounces. I want to make sure that I have enough for my pour. And then I'm going to lay down a base coat. You will see I have already covered my edges. The way that I mix for a straight pour, I am using Floetrol. The mix is kind of thin. That can lead to some thinly covered edges, and I like to avoid that because I will feel compelled to go fix that later. It is just easier to deal with it now. I like to troubleshoot before there's trouble. So the edges are covered first. The reason we lay down a base coat is we want our paints to slide around evenly, first of all. But also when you put your puddle down, something has to stick to the canvas first, and if it is not a base coat, it is going to be whatever paint hits the canvas first. So the edge of your puddle is going to be what hits the canvas first as you're stretching, and then the center of the puddle is going to run over top of your edges. And sometimes the coolest stuff happens on the edges, and then you lose that as an option for your composition. I like giving myself as many options as possible. It's one of the reasons that my base coat is the same color as something in my painting. So my base coat is going to be the same color as the background being the paint that I am expecting to not sell. It will be the color that appears in between the cells. Another reason that I use that as my color is because when you get bubbles in your base coat, occasionally those bubbles will pop up through your pour, and if I were to use white, for instance, as my base coat for this painting, then I could end up with tiny white cells in my painting, and there's no white anywhere in my puddle, and so it's going to stand out and not in a good way. So that's why I use a color that is in the painting. And I saw a cat hair. Be sure to catch your schmutz as soon as you can, because it will affect the way your paint flows. Oh, come on. There it is. So as soon as you see any kind of schmutz, grab it. All right, pull out old Bernie 2 times. That's why he's called Bernie 2 times. He only lights on the second try. Pop these bubbles so they don't come up through my pour. Okay, so as I sit here and try to decide what order are my paints going to go in the cup, typically the last color that I put in the cup ends up, some of that, a little bit of that, ends up at the very bottom of the cup, and that becomes my center. So what color do I want to become my center is what I have to think about first, and then how do I want the rest of the order to go. So I think I want yellow to be my center. The colors that wind up in the center are the first color that goes in and the last color. It just seems to work out that way. When you pour from up high and it can sink and churn and do the thing, that seems to be what happens. So I want orange and yellow to be in the center. So I'm going to start with orange and work my way through the colors and end with yellow. And we shall see what happens. I have double checked my consistency. The sauce may thicken upon standing, so that is a good thing to do. Okay, so I'm going to start with the orange. I'm going to pour from up high. I want this to sink and churn. My concern here is that I am doing a smaller canvas and I'm using a lot of colors, which means I don't have the weight of the full cup to get that force down to the bottom of the cup. I don't quite get the velocity that I want. So we'll see what happens. I like to hear that plop. If I don't hear the plop, I get concerned that it's not going to make it to the bottom. And then I wind up with a boring center. If you are uncomfortable with pouring your paints from up high like that, you can practice in your sink with just water. I was a bartender and you just kind of get used to doing that. Yeah, I'm not really feeling like these paints are getting all the way to the bottom. We shall see what happens. One of the things about adding these satin enamels to these paints is it really does help keep this color separation. Where I can put a whole rainbow in a cup and I'm not getting mud. That thickened up on me just a hair, even though I just checked it seconds ago, it seems. Check it every time. If your paints are different consistencies, then they will spread at different rates. Some will move faster than others, and then you kind of end up with like these certain paints will have squiggles in them because they're moving faster than the other paints. I don't think that yellow made it to the bottom. That is my prediction. And I'm going to take some of what is left in the cup with the background color and just put a bit of that on top. So all of the paints have some paint to react with. And I'm going to center my little flower the best I can. I should have done that before I put my paint in the cup. I'll just have to be quick about it. All right, I think that's centered, I think. Okay, I am going to pour as quickly as the vessel will allow. I don't want to fill it up and then it's too filled and it doesn't hold the paint, so I have to be mindful of that. And I am going to be spinning as I go. Again, I'm not trying to go faster than a little pouring doodad will allow. The spinning will help to create patterns in the cells throughout the petals. So that way all of the petals will get some of that color. Otherwise, what would happen, or what could happen, is you get some colors on one side and then other colors on the other side, which is a whole different look. And if that's what you want, by all means, go for it. That's just not what I was going for today. Oh, please let there be some yellow at the bottom of this cup. Please let there be some yellow. Oh, I see some, is that blue and purple? I'm holding out hope for some yellow. But I'm not seeing evidence of it. Okay, so the yellow did not make it to the bottom of the cup. That's okay. We still have a cool looking center happening here. I am just going to do a little zhuzhing to give it a bit more of a flower-like center. Okay. You know what I can do? I can put a wee bit of yellow on my skewer here. That's good. I just wanted some yellow in there. Good enough for me. Okay, I am going to give this, do I want to give this a spin first? So if I give this a spin first, then some of the little points will come out. You know, it's so hard to explain because they're covered up. But if I spin it now, some of this center will come out and give a different design. But maybe I don't want to do that. think I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to lift it. So you'll be able to see the difference that this makes. I'll show you at the end of this video. I will show you the last one that I did where I spun it before I removed it, and it gives the center a very different feeling. This kind of gives you a nice round center with some cool little petally things going on there. I'm going to pop some of these bubbles, and what's going to happen, the bubbles that are in the layers underneath of the magenta, as the bubbles come up, it is going to bring some of that paint with it. And because the paints are hydrophobic, it is going to push the other paint away. And those cells will grow. And as I let them sit, they will get bigger. And then I can stretch them out and they kind of get this cool 3D effect. I call them Boulder cells because they look like boulders. They can. Gosh, I kind of want to bring this line. I don't know why I want to do that. I want to do it. I'm not going to do it, but I want to do it. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep popping these bubbles, and I'm going to keep being patient. So when I say there are patterns of colors that will come out because I'm spinning, you see the blue and purple here have formed this pattern, but I see some green and yellow a little closer in. And so hopefully as that sits, more of that will pop up. And after I stretch, more of that will pop up. Okay, this is getting ready to roll over the side, so I think I need to start giving this a twirl, and I'm pushing it a little bit this way because this side's already tilting over. So it's just like those merry-go-rounds at the playground. You're using centrifugal force. If you're sitting in the middle of one of those things, you aren't getting pulled very hard, but the closer to the edge you get, the more you get pulled. So when I want one side to stretch more, I just push it to the side that I want to spin the most off of, or that I want the pull to be strongest. Are we looking? Okay, I can center you back up. And I can just add a little bit of paint to these corners. Make sure that my edges are still wet because they can dry out, and then like what is happening here, it doesn't slide off the edge as easily. So let me just zhuzh that up so everything comes off nice and smoothly. This will help me get these corners covered a lot easier, not having that dry canvas or starting to dry canvas to deal with. These steps can save you some headaches for sure. If you don't have paints left over, you can use some of your drippings, but you'll just have to make sure that you fully cover that so you don't end up with like muddy looking colors. Because the more times you mix them up, the more muddy effect you'll get. I have pretty good luck with straight pours without winding up with a bunch of mud, so grateful to have discovered this technique. The first one was basically a rainbow in a cup. Wasn't expecting all those cells. That would be video 15 if y'all want to see the first, I guess technically the first straight pour. Somebody might have done it before me, but they didn't put it on YouTube if they did. Okay, I can see how this is squishing up on the end. This is not, this is fighting me. You don't want that. When you see your edges squishing up, that means it's about to roll over itself. And you might want to give it a little bit of love. Ooh, just a tiny, tiny bit more. I'm gonna squish it in the direction I want it to go. Just this corner. I'm just giving these corners just a little bit of love here so they don't look like they weren't covered. There we go. And then I don't have to keep stretching it. Okay. So now I'm going to let this do what it's going to do. And I anticipate getting some green, yellow cells popping up towards center here. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So I'm gonna let this sit and do what it's gonna do, and I'll bring you in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. I've let it sit for a bit, and you can see more cells did pop up. There may be some more popping up. It can change for a bit. But I think this is probably going to be the majority of what we're going to see. But there it is. That magenta background will dry darker than how it appears here. The Floetrol does pinken it up a bit. So it will be a deeper magenta, like the in between those lines there. So there it is. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. Please do like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. If you are subscribed, please make sure you've clicked the bell so that you receive notifications when I put up new content. YouTube changed a thing, and so you must click the bell now if you want to receive notifications. In the description box, you will find links to my affiliate links, DecoArt being one of them, Paint Pour Store, several others. If you use the links in the description box and the coupon codes. I will receive a commission at no additional cost to you. You will also find in the description box links to our Facebook group. Go make some art. Join us there. Post your masterpieces, ask your questions, get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. It is the internet after all. Also, you will find my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and the Fluid Art inspiration cards for sale. Yeah. Actually, let me take a moment and show you how the center from the other piece looked when I spun it out to make sure it was completely spun out of the center. So this is the last piece that I did. You can see that the center gave a bit more of a star effect. And this is dry, obviously. It's hard to see all of the sparkle and shimmer that is in this until it's varnished, because I did use the DecoArt metallics. So they appear matte, but they are very blingy. I'm trying to see if you can catch some of that shimmer, but it's kind of difficult to see. But that's how that one turned out. The center definitely has a more rose-like appearance, but I also did treat the center differently than I did this time. But the paints also came out differently, so there was that. But there it is. Well, that's it for me for today. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.